Share Shot Reality on WrestlingInc.com. I am Justin LaBar here in the Point Park University Studios in downtown Pittsburgh. It's our second to last one. Next week we're gonna have some everybody joining us. Have some names from the past, some faces from the past. It's gonna be a good, fun final episode. A good way to send off and thank all of you Share Shot Reality fans for over 400 episodes and a decade's worth of support. As I said, I'm Justin LaBar, and one of the men who will be joining me next week, he's with me this week down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, but he'll be up here in live and living color next week. He is the other CSR original, Mr. Josh Eisenberg. Josh, how are you?
I'm great. I missed the days, Justin, where it was Josh, insert a nickname Eisenberg whenever you used to introduce me. I missed those days, so I think that you need to come up with a clever one to send us off on our ways in our series finale next week.
I'll do my best. Josh, let's jump into what's, I think, one of the top stories that's coming out of the news this week, and something I reported on Wrestling Inc. this past Wednesday, which is I'm hearing that the Fox network officials, they're wanting Ronda Rousey on SmackDown Live next year when SmackDown moves to Fox on Friday nights. And this, of course, goes right in line. It's not really a surprise when you think about it. It goes right in line with what we had already been hearing, which is Fox is planning to, have WWE SmackDown Live be, a little bit more sport-oriented, more sport presentation compared to some of the comedy and entertainment-based shenanigans we see perhaps on a Monday Night Raw. What's your reaction when you hear this, Fox wanting Ronda?
Well, I mean, they're giving $1 billion, so I think Fox can decide who they really want. But at the end of the day, I think WWE is going to give them what they want, and obviously things can change. The contract signed, things like that. But they want to please Fox, and they want to make big ratings on Fox. We've talked about all of the changes that they can do for SmackDown whenever it gets moved to Fox, being more live action oriented or sport oriented. And what better way than Ronda Rousey, who is still a big draw, who is still a big name. And at this time next year, Ronda Rousey is just, in my opinion, is going to come into her own even more. You look at how great she's been doing. Her match at Survivor Series was standout, but who doesn't have those type of matches with Charlotte Flair? But Ronda Rousey on SmackDown on Fox is the best thing that they can do to bring over the UFC fans that they could potentially lose when UFC is on ESPN, but also bring the casual WWE fans. I mean, Fox is going to want to be all hands on deck. I don't think it's going to stop the brand split from happening because there's already enough talent to go around. But Ronda Rousey could be built around that entire show. She could be the one that leads Fox into prime time with the NFL crossovers and things like that. So it makes sense for me. She's the biggest draw for WWE right now and a crossover appeal.
Right, and when you're talking sport, when you're talking athletes, if you want to appeal to the more traditional sports audience, yeah, I mean, she has all the credentials, she has the credibility to put her on some of the other shows on Fox's programming to say, hey, look, WWE's here now, please welcome into the family. She certainly works better than if you had some over-the-top character that was very wrestling-like, so to speak. Yeah, it makes sense. And one thing I want to address that it was a lot of knee-jerk reaction I've gotten from people when they've read this report that I put out is a lot of people immediately said, "Oh my God, okay, now they started booking like now." And I have to remind everybody again, we're talking about a year away, so this doesn't mean Ronda Rousey's going to leave Raw right now. This doesn't affect anything with Becky Lynch right now in the immediate. I mean, we're talking 10, 11 months away, so they have plenty of time to manipulate the roster, whether it be a draft or whatever it takes to get her there.
Well, there's a lot of options, and that's what I really wanted to ask you. You can have Ronda Rousey be the Raw Women's Champion and potentially continue to be undefeated, but get drafted, so she has to drop the title. Similar to what Asuka did in NXT, where she was undefeated, but her next step was going onto the main roster, so she surrendered the championship. You could do something like that with Ronda Rousey. I don't necessarily know if that would be the best decision because I think Becky or Charlotte could really, Charlotte's already done so much in her career. So what next thing can she do as main event WrestleMania against Ronda Rousey? I think that's still on the table. But it could benefit somebody like a Becky Lynch if WWE really needed something. And you'd have enough time from WrestleMania season. And then also if you move her over to Fox, whether it's after that or whether it's as soon as it launches via a trade or things like that, I personally think that I want Ronda to drop the Women's Championship at a WrestleMania or sometime after, and then head over to SmackDown in the Superstar Shakeup. I think that's the best course. That's the best course for her and many other women.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think she's going to lose her. She'll have her first WWE loss before she gets to SmackDown, whether it be
unless Fox doesn't want it to, right? Unless Fox doesn't want her to lose.
Well, I mean, that's. It's one thing to hear about what they want once SmackDown becomes their property, but it's still a year away. I don't know if I don't know if we can let them make those kind of creative decisions between now and then, especially if from Vince McMahon's probably perspective of, okay, if he is going to, if Raw is going to lose Ronda Rousey, then you're going to obviously want to have somebody with, you know, good credibility who can anchor Raw. So potentially whoever that person is the person that does get the accolade of saying they were the first to beat Ronda Rousey. So for example, if Becky Lynch happened to be the one who hands Rousey her first WWE loss, then maybe Becky Lynch is now the face of the women's division on Monday Night Raw, you know, if and when Ronda goes to Friday. So I mean, I think, you know, but I agree. I would like to see her, you know, drop the title, lose. You know, maybe next summer she finds a way to SmackDown. So that way, you know, by the time that first SmackDown goes on Friday night on Fox, you know, she could potentially already be the SmackDown Women's Champion by that point.
Yeah, and I think it's a good idea for her. You know, I wonder if Brock will follow, if Brock continues to be in WWE and will follow over to Fox. That would be interesting to me, especially if he can still continue to do the crossover with UFC and Fox. But I think WWE knows that Rousey is their #1 star right now for Fox, and Fox gets what they want right now.
Yeah, and you know, the last point on that real quick, I'm going to be very interested to watch. I think Eric Bischoff really was one of the first ones of note to make this comment, and obviously he has a lot of television experience, so I take value from it, which is, you know, we're hearing all this, you know, Fox wants this, Fox wants that. It's gonna be interesting to watch that once we're in the mode, once they move to Fox and week to week, you know, how USA reacts to, or how both networks react to, you know, if somebody's all of a sudden gets red hot on one show, you know, how the networks feel like they're, you know, I can almost see them being like, you know, siblings. Complain, and WWE being the mom or dad, and them complaining, hey, how come she got this star? How come The Rock made an appearance on that show and not mine? So I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, this is going to be new territory for WWE, having you know, having their programming split the way that it's going to be split.
Yep. Yeah, but fun territory.
Yes, very fun. Let's talk about Monday Night Raw real quick. You know, we're talking about all the SmackDown talk here when they move. Monday Night Raw, it's not going anywhere. It's remaining on USA Network, and this past week was almost a record low for the third hour. Josh, are you with me with how bad that Raw was, or do you take something away from it that I haven't took away from it?
No, there's not much to take away from it at all, to be honest with you. Here's a few things. One, it's so ass backwards to me that they think Raw is the A show and SmackDown's the B show. And I'll tell you why. Because last year at this time, or you know, a month before, there was a Jinder Mahal who was the champion. He's barely getting time on Raw since being drafted. And Baron Corbin was on the tailspin all the way down. Now those guys' roles have reversed. And then you go to Monday Night Raw, and the Monday Night Raw's #1 tag team was LaBar. And when they got drafted to SmackDown, it took them 2 or 3 months to really do anything. And it was the same with, you know, other tag teams of that nature and mid-card guys. There was nothing to take out of Monday Night Raw. It was at the point where it was laughable. You know, and I don't say this to personally attack guys like Jinder Mahal who got some TV time, or any of the other singles matches. I mean, no Jose, obviously we haven't seen him in quite some time, but there was absolutely zero storyline progression in anything. And it shows you, as much as people hate or want to hate the guys like Roman Reigns or guys that are popping the needle, people bitch and complain about where's Brock Lesnar been? Why, you know, and I get that. I completely hear you. But when those guys are on there, even if they don't do much, it makes the show considerably better. They could speak for 10 minutes, and that's a great segment for a lot of fans. There's not enough, and this is crazy because it's 3 hours, there's not enough creativity and there's not enough fresh feuds for talent on Raw, but there are on SmackDown, and you see that because SmackDown guys get opportunities. Now, SmackDown has its problems in my mind, but SmackDown has guys like Rusev who maybe was in the championship match at Extreme Rules and fell off, but now he could potentially be back. They have that flexibility with a lot of guys on SmackDown. Raw needs to take note of what SmackDown does with their talent and give opportunities for guys and see what sticks, because they don't have guys right now that are sticking, and that's the problem.
Yeah, talking about needing something fresh. I mean, you know, you're running into a repetition when you have a surprise announcement that you're going to have Seth Rollins versus Dolph Ziggler, and there's a worldwide eye roll that goes on because we've seen that match.
And those guys are so good too, Justin. That's the problem. You know, they're so good together, but nobody cares.
Not surprised to see the numbers for Raw as bad as they were. You're right. You know, no Roman, no Brock, no Braun. You know, right now Elias appears to be one of the top babyface. You know, Elias and Seth Rollins are your two top babyfaces, and you know, and Seth Rollins was in a repetitive match with Dolph Ziggler, and Elias was, you know, the victim of the same old Baron Corbin no DQ shenanigans. So,
and how great would it have been, Justin, to have a guy, even an NXT guy, come up just for a match, or even somebody that we haven't seen in quite some time, just for a match. Oh, do that, Intercontinental Challenge, kind of like what John Cena did. Did it ever hurt Kevin Owens or Sami Zayn or Neville or guys like that fought John Cena for the U.S. Championship Open? No, it just only created fresh and interesting feuds that WWE could use towards the future, and that's what they did for those guys. They need to do that for Seth Rollins, and a horrible mistake. And I even tweeted out 5 or 10 minutes before, as joking, "Oh, I watched Dolph Ziggler answer the call because that's what happened last time." But it's so predictable.
That's a great point. I mean, if it wouldn't have made the show an A+ show, but yeah, had Seth Rollins laid out an open challenge, and an Aleister Black or a Tommaso Ciampa or somebody like that, Johnny Gargano, if a surprise like that would have answered, it at least would have certainly brightened the show up to have that surprise and fresh matchup. So I guess nowhere to go but up. So we'll see what they do this Monday in response. We got more Chair Shot reality this weekend for you to binge watch playlist. Josh and I are going to bring back a favorite. Next segment, we're going to do a little heel or face. We'll see where we're at on some other hot topics. Plus, we'll talk about the 2 world champions, Brock Lesnar and Daniel Bryan, who is going to lose their world title first. We got it all here on Chair Shot Reality on Wrestling Inc.